Okay, it's started recording. Yeah,
Okay.
okay. So in this session, I'm going to explain you from the basic what is private
Okay.
cloud, what is public cloud, what is data center model, how why people are
Okay.
moving to public cloud providers like AWS, Azure, Google Cloud, Oracle Cloud, and
Okay.
Alibaba Cloud. These are the main major public cloud providers. So how the journey
Okay.
from data
Hey,
center.
OpenStack also cloud only, right?
Yeah, OpenStack is like a private cloud. It's not a public.
Okay.
You just need to configure everything in your local. If you have a servers in data center, you can use OpenStack. You can only do it like
Okay.
as it in Cloud Stack. It's also a Cloud Stack. There is a cloud layer called Cloud Stack, so you can utilize that and you can build your own private cloud. So like that, OpenStack also. It's an
Okay.
open source. You can build it. Now it's with Red Hat, I think. Yeah. So we'll go with that
Okay.
also. That's brief about it. It's a private cloud. We are mainly focusing on public
Okay.
clouds now. So okay. So
Okay. Okay.
so basically there are two types of clouds. There are two types of hypervisors. Like when cloud begins, that is one.
Yeah, hypervisor means what, bro? Hypervisor means?
Hypervisors you consider as a OS operating system, so which will be installed on a
Okay.
hardware, okay, bare hardware. So
Okay.
and
Okay.
that you'll create virtual machine, so it acts as a manager between your hardware and the virtual machines. So any for example in the
ESXi operating system, right?
ESXi is a
ESXi also.
ESXi is a hypervisor from VMware. Okay,
Okay. Okay.
so this will be
Okay.
installed on a hardware, bare metal
Okay.
hardware. So then you'll use a VMware vCenter to organize your hardwares like hosts and all, and you'll use VMware vSphere
Okay.
client to access that vCenter and to do like work like
Okay.
creating VMs, adding like configuring your VMware environment and all. So yeah, I will come to that
Okay.
also. So I will explain why we're doing it. Okay. So first,
Okay.
there are two types of as I told you, there are two types of hypervisors. One is type 1, which is called as bare metal hypervisor. Okay.
Okay.
Type 2 is uh, type 2 is host based hypervisor.
Okay.
Okay, so here this is called as the bare metal. Why? Because we are going to install our hypervisor directly on the hardware. Okay, the examples are
Okay.
ESXi from the VMware. Okay, and then
Okay.
we have Hyper-V from
Okay.
Windows, and we have
Okay.
Zen hypervisor from Citrix.
Okay.
These are the examples. Okay. Uh,
Okay. These all are operating systems, Asha, right? Hypervisor means it's operating system.
Kind of. You can't say it's not.
Kind of.
It's a kind of operating system, but it's like a manager,
Okay.
which is a manager
Okay.
which manages the connectivity or sharing of resources between the virtual machines and underlying hardware where this ESXi is installed. Okay,
Okay.
got it
Okay.
right? What I'm telling? Yeah.
Okay. I
So
got it.
okay. So let me open a WordPad and there I can write. um, Okay. So there are two types. One type 1 and type 2. Okay, so
Okay.
here type
Okay.
1 we called as bare metal hypervisors, and type 2 we call as host based hypervisor.
Okay.
Okay, so if you go to type 1, that is bare metals, you'll get examples as VMware ESXi. Okay, uh,
Okay.
Microsoft or Windows Hyper-V.
Okay.
Okay, and then Citrix Zen server. Okay,
Okay.
whereas
Okay.
here the type 2 is nothing but it's kind of application. For example, you can see Chrome or you can see Geo, Zoom, you can see
Okay.
browsers. No, it's kind of application. You can install it on your
Okay.
laptop on a host on a OS. So
Okay.
here you can see Oracle VirtualBox. It's an application that I have installed on my
Okay.
Windows laptop. So
Okay.
it need a backend OS, okay, to install on.
Okay.
So whereas the bare metal, you don't
Okay.
need any OS to install it. You just need an hardware, on that you can install it.
Okay.
Okay, so it's
Okay.
type
Okay.
2. It's like for your purpose, like on your laptop, you can install the VMware Oracle VirtualBox, and also
Okay.
VMware. From VMware, it's like workstation or something is there. From Windows also, some applications you'll get it. For example, you can say Oracle VirtualBox, okay,
Okay.
and many more are there. Okay, so these are the difference
Okay.
between the type 1 and type 2. Okay, so then,
Okay. Okay.
so previously in our data center models, if you go to data center model, so what happens is like before coming to private cloud or public cloud, people's
Okay.
companies, what they used to do is like they used to build their own data centers, small data centers. If the companies are small, like they used to have their own internal data center. There they will be having racks. So inside that they will be having virtual host machines. That is virtual machines, like host machines which are having CPU, memory, and storage attached to it. So they are
Okay.
called bare metal machines, or a physical machine. So on top of that, they used to install hypervisors like VMware ESXi, Hyper-V, or Citrix. Is up to the company. Okay. So
Okay.
mostly popular is ESXi, VMware ESXi. They used to install this one, what do you call it as ESXi, and the host machines are a physical machine. On top of that, then adding that host to VMware vCenter, and then through VMware vSphere, we are used to access that host, and we
Okay.
used to create virtual machine on top of that. Okay, so
Okay.
this model requires a management or a manual interventions. Like you need technical persons to manage your physical machines. You need a technical person to manage the networking of the host. You need a person to manage electricity, like supply to that particular host groups and all. And you need the cooling system because it will get heat up because it's since it's a host like host machine, a physical machine environment. So you have to take care of all these overheads, and you need a technical person to install ESXi and that, and bringing that or onboarding that host machines to VMware vCenter, and then accessing through vSphere client, and also managing the host in their life cycle. For example, patching of the ESXi, and I'm checking if any failures in the hardware level, you need to contact with the different vendors of the host machines and replace the defected parts, and you need to do a patching and regular maintenance in the electricity supply, or even the cooling system. There are a lot of overheads in data center model. So that's why
Okay.
parallelly one more model started is like a private cloud model. So
Okay.
what is a private cloud model is like people started utilizing the data center model. So this setup will be normal. Okay, on top of this model, they started using a cloud layer. Okay, so cloud
Okay.
layer. So, for example, here you can have previously with the Citrix cloud stack was there, or you can have Red Hat OpenStack. So these are all cloud layers. You can install different components. For example, if you go to this one AWS, you will see different service like networking service, so storage service, and all. You need to manually install those. Like there will be some different binaries for this, and you need to set up appliances and all. You need to do a integration of those and make it as a cloud. Okay, that will be accessible only from your company. So
Okay.
on top of that, people used to create their own UI user interfaces. For example, if you see AWS, you just need to go to a link and log in. In the user interface only, you will add VMs and all. No, so people used to start building their own UI user interface. Okay, so
Okay.
that user interface will be you just need to log into their user interface, and you create VMs, you create add storage, but in the backend, this URL it will interact with this cloud layer. Then again, the cloud layer will interact with this data center backend host model. Okay, which may be a VMware ESXi or or maybe they are using Hyper-V, or maybe they are using SenseCenter. Okay, this is how. First, the peoples will log into the UI, and that they will do some operations there. That UI interact with this cloud layer. Then the cloud layer go interact with this backend host, which may be a VMware environment, and they will do the task. Say, for example, in the data center model, you directly log in, you directly connect with the host or a group of hosts as a called as cluster in VMware vCenter through vSphere client and doing it now. So in this private cloud model, you don't have to connect to the VMware environment through vCenter client. You just need to log into the UI as in public cloud model, and you do operations in like creating VMs on a UI only. So the backend deployment of the VM storage and those tasks you did it in UI will be taken care by this cloud layer, and this will interact with the backend VMware environment, and it will do deployments. Okay, this is called private cloud model. Okay, and then again came a public cloud model. Okay, public cloud model. So here, why the public cloud model? Big organization. Madhu, I'm getting a disturbance from backend.
From my end.
Yeah.
Just a minute. You got any voice?
Yeah, I'm getting voice. Yeah. Now it's okay. Now it's okay. Yeah. Madhu, you can do one thing. You can mute yourself, and if you have questions, you can unmute and ask.
Just a minute. Just a minute.
That works fine.
Wait. What, Madhu? Come again.
So you can, for time being, you can mute yourself, and if you have a questions, you can unmute and ask me. That works fine for you.
Done. No questions. You can continue.
Okay. So that's what. So again, the public cloud model came in the picture. Why? Because this setting up a private cloud, it's a cost consume, because you need a dedicated team to manage the UI, to build the UI and manage the UI, and you need a dedicated team to manage the middle cloud stack layer. There will be overheads, like you need to pay these vendors for the cloud layer as well, and you need to like if any issue with the middle cloud layer, you need to interact with their vendors and you to resolve these issues and all. And you need to manage the backend data center. There are three layers here. One is UI layer, the middle cloud layer, and the backend host VM virtualization layer. So this can be done and managed in the big organizations. Okay. Whereas for small organization or startups, it's overhead because the cost will be more to manage this. It's a secure because it will be available to only for your company employees to use that private cloud. Whereas, but building this and managing it's a cost overhead, and you need dedicated teams to manage the UI and all, and build your own UI and all. So for startups and all, see, they can't only concentrate on this backend environments, and they can't spend much money on this. So public cloud providers open a door for those peoples, like they can directly onboard to the public cloud. Then they don't need to manage all these things. They can pay as per their use. Okay, if they need 10 servers, they can in a minute they can use it deploy 10 servers in the public cloud, and they can utilize it, and they can pay only for the hours they are using those servers. Okay. So whereas in data center model, in the private cloud model, what happens is like you need to plan accordingly. Like if in case like you have 10 hosts already, some 10 customers are running on there, and if two customers are coming to your company as a they are trying to buy your application. If you are like software as service provider, so you need to plan accordingly. You need to buy hosts like physical machines, and you need to rack it up, and you need to onboard it to the cloud, your private cloud, or onboard it to a vCenter VMware environment. Then you need to create a virtual network related things and set it up before they coming. If that customer turn down back, like if they do say at the last moment, we are not coming to your company, we are not buying your product, then it will be loss for you, because you already invested so much trusting those people. So that are the overheads we have. So and for example, you have some physical machines, and you need, because the storage is getting increased, and you need the storage to support that. You need to extend it. So if you don't have storage available in your data center or in your backend public cloud, your private cloud, so then again you need to go with your management, asking their approvals, bring the storages, and communicate with the vendors, bring it, and add it to your in your data center. And it takes a lot of time. Whereas in public cloud, for example, if you want to extend 100 GB or 200 GB or 1 TB, 2 TB, in a single go within a minutes you can extend it. So whereas in private cloud or in data center model, it used to take around a week or 2 weeks to do this. But whereas in public cloud, within a matter of minutes you can do it. So this is the advantages, and it reduces the overhead as well. Okay, and you're paying only for what you use, paying only for what you use. Okay,
Okay.
whereas in the private cloud model or data center model, you need to plan and procure resources, okay, before
Okay.
onboarding customers. Okay,
Okay.
customers, that means you have invested already. And for example, you have a physical machine with a 128 CPU, but you have customers with a, if you like if you calculate overall usage, if it's coming around 20 or 25 CPUs or vCPUs, or around, if I have around 500 GB of RAM, in the total you are using around 100 GB of RAM, it's a big wastage, right? So anyhow,
Okay.
you're already paid that amount to buy that resources, but you're not using it. It's underutilized. But you already paid
Okay.
that. Whereas in public cloud, what you can do is, like, you need 20 GB of RAM, you can buy it. Okay, you take the configuration. You don't need to pay for other resources, right? You are paying only for the resources you are using. Okay, so in this case,
Okay. Okay.
you can reduce your cost. Okay, so there are a lot of overheads in data center model or private cloud model compared to public cloud. Okay, so these are like, you don't need to manage or plan everything before onboarding customers. You, in a single go, you can onboard. If the customer going out, you can, in a single go, you can decommission the environment. Whereas in data center model, if the customers are going away, so you can decommission the environment, but it's the resource will be there only, so it's underutilized. So you are paying for that cost. Okay, even though you're not using it. So these are the advantages and what disadvantages compared to data center model, private model, and public cloud model. So if you go to public cloud model, the major providers now are AWS, Amazon Web Services, Azure from Microsoft family, and then OCI from Oracle Cloud in cloud infrastructure, and you have a Google Cloud. Okay, and then you have Alibaba Cloud. Okay, so
Okay.
and again one more. Okay, so Rackspace, they are coming on their own cloud. Okay, let me explain on the, like, these are the main public cloud providers now. So in this session, in this session, entire session, we're going to cover AWS. Okay, Amazon Web Services. Okay,
Okay.
so
Okay.
you got it, like the overview how it came.
Yeah. 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 Got it. Got it.
Okay, so next, we'll go to our public cloud provider. This is the AWS. So to practice it, you need a free tier
Okay.
account. So you just go and create a free tier
Okay.
account. Okay, then you can start
Okay.
practicing it. Okay, so
Okay.
so you can see here the number of services it has. It's like plenty number of services it has. So you can see
Okay.
here for compute, blockchain, security, satellite, quantum technologies, containers, storage, database.
Mm.
It's like a single shop for what and all you need. Okay, to set up your
Okay.
application, to stream your application, and to deliver your application to customers. Okay, in a short time span. There are a lot of services here, so I'm gonna cover the services which are related to infrastructure as service. Okay, and also platform as service like RDS and all, and related to storage, related to compute, and related to database, and related to migration, and related to network and content delivery, and the developer tools are related to developers, so we don't need to go through that. And the customer.
Okay.
Okay, so here, and services like 1 minute, where those here, management and governance, there are some services we're gonna explain you in this tutorial
Okay.
sessions. Okay, and the security, like IAM, identity access management inspector, then key management service, certificate manager. So WAF, these are the services I'm going to cover you. So at the basic, okay, So for anything, any cloud or any data center, the basic thing you need to have is networking. Okay. So
Okay.
so that's why I will be starting my sessions with VPC. So if you know the VPC, you're gonna learn the other services quickly, because here these are services will be interconnected with other services as well. So
Okay. Okay.
Madhu, just a minute. I'm gonna put charger to my laptop. It's getting the charger is getting drained. Just
Okay.
a minute.
Okay.
Okay, Madhu, I came back. So here,
1 minute. 1 minute, Madhu. 1 minute, Madhu.
okay,
1 minute.
okay, okay, okay. So the first service we are gonna explain you in this session is VPC. Okay, so we're gonna explain it VPC first.
Okay.
Okay, so VPC is like virtual private cloud. Okay, the expansion of this
Okay.
is virtual private cloud. Okay, so if you create a VPC, it's your own private cloud boundary which you're going to create in a AWS platform. But the backend hardware will be shared, but the virtualization isolation will be in software layer. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. So here, if you go to VPC, for example, what you are doing is like you are creating a boundary. Let me
Okay.
show that new. Don't say it. So here you're creating a boundary. So this is your VPC.
Okay.
Within that, you will be
Okay.
creating subnets. You'll be creating subnets, route tables, and
Okay.
gateways, and you're gonna create instances within this subnets and all, and RDSs and all.
Okay.
So this is the boundary of your account, or you boundary of your environment. So within that, you will be creating.
Okay.
This is isolated from other VPCs in your AWS public cloud providers. So
Okay.
if you want, you can establish connection between other VPCs as well. That I will cover you later. Okay. So
Okay.
this is like
Okay.
boundary. Okay. So
Okay. Okay.
let me show that. Okay. So don't save it. Don't save. For example, here this is your VPC. So inside that you will be creating subnets. Okay. So
Okay.
inside that you will be creating uh, some services, for example, VMs or database. Okay. So
Okay.
like this it happens. Okay. So
Okay.
this is the just normal overview like this. I will show you
Okay.
what is VPC and all. So let me create a VPC. So if you go to here, service provider, watch a private cloud VPC. Okay.
Okay.
So there are a lot of services, sub-services like related to VPC. So I will gonna explain each and every one. Okay. So first, you go to VPCs. Okay. Create VPC. So here you need to give a name to that VPC. For example, you are creating a customer. Like for example, consider a customer name, a demo. Let it be a demo
Okay.
customer name. Then you need to give a CIDR range for that VPC. As I told you, it's a private boundary you have. So you need to fix that
Okay.
boundary. So for example, 10.0, for example, 20.0/24. So this is my
Okay.
boundary of this my VPC. So around 256 IPs I will get it. So within that boundary I will
Okay.
create it. Okay. So here tenancy will be default.
Okay.
Just create it. So this is how
Okay.
you'll create VPC. This is done. Okay.
Okay.
Okay, this is your VPC. Then what you need to do, you need to create subnets within this VPC. Okay,
Yes.
go to subnets. Okay, create VPC, create subnets. Okay, subnets is nothing but like dividing your virtual boundary. For example, just
Yeah. Yeah.
consider,
Yeah.
yeah, consider an example, a VPC as a Mysore. Okay, so there will be
Okay.
different areas, right? Okay,
Yeah. Yeah.
Mysore is divided into different areas. So consider each area as a subnet. Okay.
Okay. Okay.
So I'm creating a subnet one here. Okay, so in which
Okay.
VPC I'm creating, in which area, in which city, in creating demo. Okay, so for example, take
Okay.
area 1 in my city Mysore. Okay, in this VPC.
Okay.
Okay, and
Okay.
you can say availability zones. So availability zone will be 1A. So what is availability zone? So AWS works in this pattern. I will show you how it works. Nin don't. Okay, so normally if you consider this as a world. Okay, this is a world.
Okay.
uh, these are all continents. You consider these are all continents.
Okay.
Okay, there will be
Okay.
countries within this continent, right? Okay,
Okay.
there will be countries within this continent. Okay, there are some countries within this continent, and in this continent, in these countries, you there will be states, right?
Yeah.
Okay, there will be
Okay.
states. Okay, there will be different states within that. There will be some states within that. There will be some multiple states will be there. So you
Mm-mm.
consider that each state, inside that state. Okay, so this is how world will be, right? So if you take out
Yeah.
that,
Yeah.
if you take up the state out. Okay, so let's consider this is a state. Okay, so we'll take an example of our India only. So take an example of Maharashtra. Okay, so inside that
Okay.
Maharashtra, there will be cities, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so consider this city as Mumbai. Take it out.
Yeah.
Take it
Okay.
out. Okay, if you take it out, consider this as a Mumbai. Okay, this is a region. Okay, now. Okay, this is
Okay.
a region. So Mumbai is a region. Okay, inside the city you will be having different areas, right? Okay, so
Okay.
we'll consider like what AWS will do. It choose multiple availability zones or multiple areas or regions inside a city. So
Okay.
they name it as availability zone. So for example,
Okay.
you consider this as Mumbai, right? Mumbai
Okay.
region of AWS. Okay, okay. So inside the
Yeah.
Mumbai region you will be having uh, there will be region, for example, east, west availability zones, like west, or like you can have south. So they choose
Mm.
different areas inside that inside that region, and they will name it as availability zones. Okay, these
Okay.
areas, like that region is nothing but the region or the place is nothing but availability zone. There they will be having their data centers. Okay, so for example, if you consider
Okay.
Mumbai region, inside that Mumbai they will be having different for example places in the Mumbai region, and they will be having their data centers here in the three different or four, but multiple. It varies according to the regions. Okay, let's assume that Mumbai region have three availability zones that will be in different spaces or places. They're having their own data centers there. Okay, these data centers will be interconnected. Okay, there will be
Okay.
interconnection between these data centers. So clubbing all these availability zones, we'll call it as region. Okay, why
Okay. Okay.
why they will select available zones is like, for example, there is a region one, available zone one. Here there is, it's near to some sea. Okay, some flood happened or some tsunami came, this data center is vanished. So other two availability zones will be there in other part of the city. So it's not affected because of tsunami. So we span our services across these availability zones. So even though this cutoff, this data center is cut off. Okay,
Okay.
so vanished. So our servers or services in these availability zones is available to serve our request. So our business is not stopped. Okay, so our business will continue with this two availability zone. Okay, you got why this another. Okay,
Yeah. Yeah.
okay, okay. So one, just give me one call.
Okay. Okay.
Just a minute. Okay, so you got it
Yeah.
right.
Yeah. I got it. I got it. This
Okay.
regions and all, I got it. And why it is and all, I know.
Okay. So here we'll come back. So here I'm selecting availability zone 1A.
Okay.
Okay. So
Okay.
always create subnets in different availability zones. Okay. And you can span your servers in different subnets. So it will be going to different availability zones. Even though one availability zone is vanished, so there will be other servers in different availability zone in different subnets. So that will be serve your requests. Okay. So here you need to give your IPv4 address range for your subnet as well. That should be come within this VPC CIDR range. Okay. So, for example, I have my requirement like I need some around 8 to 10 servers. So, in a 8 to 10 servers in a subnet. So, what I will do is like as per my calculations, we need a maximum 8 to 10 servers, right? So, we'll go with this CIDR range. For example, 10.0.20.0/28. So it will come around 16 IPs. So out of which 5 will be reserved for AWS and 11 IPs will get it. So that calculation will be like 32 minus 28 will be 4. 2 to the power of 4 will be 16. You'll get that 16 IPs. That
You told like one is reserved for something. You told
five IPs. 5 IPs. Okay. So what happens is, okay. So 10.0.20.0/28. No. So you'll get it.
Okay.
32 minus 28 will be 4. Okay. 2 to the power of 4. 2 to the power of 4 will be 16. Okay. Total in this CIDR range, you'll get 16 IPs. For broadcast and for gateway and all, AWS will reserve 5 IPs. Okay.
Okay.
5 IPs. So you'll get around 11 IPs.
Okay. Those 5 IPs for what and all, Madhu? Will you please elaborate it?
AWS will be having some gateways, right?
Okay.
For routing and all, they need some for IP need to be resolved for routing.
For example, any number of IPs is 5 or what?
Yeah, 5.
Okay. For example, subnet range is like 100 or 200 IPs also.
Anything, it will be 5 only.
Okay. Got it, Madhu.
Okay. So just create it.
Okay.
You got your subnet.
Hey, it's GeoMeet or ZoomMeet it's going on?
It's Zoom we are doing. So it got pop-up. That's it.
Okay.
Okay, so we'll test that GeoMeet later. That's why. Okay, so you can see here the available IPs is 11. Even though the subnet count for 16, 5 will be reserved. So as I told you, you will get 11 IPs. Okay, so let's create one more subnet. Okay, so called as subnet 2. Okay, so in which in our demo subnet, so availability zone previously I've selected 1A, select 1B. Okay, and give the other CIDR range. So that CIDR range should not be overlap with the previous CIDR range of subnet. Okay. So for that, what I will do 20.c. See, in my previous subnet, which is 0 to 15, it will count. Okay. So we need to take from 16/28. Okay. This is my second subnet. It will start from 16 to 31. Okay. Create. Okay. You have 2 subnets now.
Okay.
You have 2 subnets now. So now, to give access, for example, let me subnet. Okay. So here, the subnet which we have created is subnet 1 and subnet.
For example, see there subnet 1, subnet 2, like that is there no 2 subnet 1s, 2 subnet 2. How we will get to know like what you created today?
Here you can see the
based on IP range.
VPC demo I created within the demo, and the range also you can see here.
Okay. Date will not come there.
Date will not come. Okay. And also, if you go to details here, you can see which VPC you created. Okay. So let me filter out demo. Sorry. Demo. Or else what you can do here only you can select the VPC. So there you can filter it out. Okay, wait a minute. So you have a demo VPC here. You go to subnets. It will filter out using that VPC. So you have two subnets in this demo VPC. Okay. So now normally in our environments in companies, what you'll do, we'll segregate subnets like private and public subnets. Okay. So the creation of subnet, the way everything will be same. Mhm. Yeah, tell me, Madhu.
Madhu, repeat once again. Why? Because sentence got missed. Repeat once again the last sentence. Why? Because your voice is
Like,
like what we call. I'm unable to hear.
Yeah, sure. Now you're able to hear my voice, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So normally in the organizations or companies, while building the environments, what we will do is like we'll divide subnets like private and public subnets. Okay. So
Okay.
private subnet, we will host our application servers or database RDS or database servers on our private subnets only, not on public subnets. Okay. So while creating private and public subnet, there will be no differentiation.
Sorry, Madhu. Will you please repeat once again?
Okay. So you see the subnet 1 and subnet 2. You didn't see any difference, right, while creating?
Yeah.
Okay, the way is the same, but we'll differentiate subnets as private and public based on the gateways which are attached to it. See, if you attach if you use an internet gateway in the route table attached to this subnet, that subnet will become public. Okay. If you use NAT gateway in the route table which is going to attach to a subnet, that subnet will become a private subnet. Okay.
Yeah.
Whereas in public subnet, your servers inside the public subnet can communicate to the internet, and from the internet you can communicate to your instances. Okay. Whereas in private subnet, what happens is it's a one way. If you use the NAT gateway, your servers can communicate to the internet, but nobody from the internet can communicate to your servers through internet. Okay. That is private. Okay. I will show how to make a subnet into private and public. So first thing you need is create an internet gateway. There is a service called internet gateway inside the VPC. Go to internet gateway. So create internet gateway. Okay. So name it as you need. Okay. I'm naming it as an internet gateway IGW. You can add tags to that. It's optional. If you want, you can add tags to that. Okay. Create gateway. So now, let it be. It's taking time. Okay. Now you got an internet gateway. Okay, in your bucket. So now what you need to do is you need to attach it to your VPC. Your VPC. Okay. Attached to the VPC. Here you can see your VPC demo. Select it. Attach the internet gateway. So now you have a gateway to your VPC to go out to the internet from your inside the VPC and to come inside the VPC from the outside internet. You have a gateway now. Previously, there was no gateway to traffic to come to your VPC or to go out to the network from your VPC. So now you created an internet gateway and you attach to your VPC. Now your VPC as a gateway. Okay. Consider you constructed a home. Okay. So previously there was no doors to go outside of your home to come inside of your home, but now you have a door. 1 minute.
Got it.
Madhu, 1 minute. I'm getting a call. Okay. So this is the gateway which are giving to our VPC. To enable to traffic to go out from our VPC or come inside our VPC. Okay. So we have attached our VPC. Now our VPC got a gateway. Okay. Now what we need to do is, as I told you, when we create a VPC, automatically our route table will be created. A default route table will be created. Okay. So if you go demo. Okay, so this is the route table which got created when we create our VPC demo. So if you see the routes of this route table, you'll see a default route for a local traffic it's added. So I always suggest don't use a default route table got created. Just go create a route table so you will get better understanding. So okay, so we'll create a demo route. Okay,
Okay.
demo route, name it as a public route. Okay,
Okay.
you just need to attach to your demo VPC, select your VPC here.
Okay.
You can add the
Okay.
naming convention. If you have any tags you need to add according to your organization requirement, you can add it. So in this case I'm not adding any tags, we just create it. I'm getting call again, just a minute. Hello, hello. ಹೇಳಿ.
Otherwise, we will continue tomorrow, Madhu, because I have also not eat the food.
Okay, it's okay. We will complete like a little bit because we are in the off
Okay.
the way. Okay, so we have created a route table.
Okay.
Okay,
Okay.
so go to that route
Okay.
table. So here, this is the route table. You can see the name we have given as route demo route. One minute. What's happening, man? That's okay. This is the route table which you have created. Okay, here you can see the default route it got added from the AWS itself for the local traffic. So now what you
Okay.
need to do is to make a subnet
Okay.
public, you need to add a route in the route table, edit route table. Here, just go here.
Okay.
For the internet, right? It will in
Okay.
AWS will specify it with the 000/0. Okay. Here, go to internet gateway.
Okay.
This is the internet gateway we have created, IGW. Just select that and
Yes. Yes.
save route. So this is
Okay.
the route
Okay.
table. This is the public route table. Why we'll call it as public route table is
Okay.
we have a route over internet through internet gateway. Okay, so that means a public route table.
From your end, signal is not good, Madhu.
Okay, so why now you are able to hear me?
Okay.
So why we are calling this public
Okay.
route table is we have added a route to the internet through our internet gateway. Okay.
No, clarity illa, clarity illa. Madhu.
Yeah, got it. Now.
Madhu, clarity illa. I think from your end some signal problem is there.
Okay, so now are you able to?
Network bandwidth is low.
1 minute, then 1 minute. So see why I'm calling this as a public route table.
Yeah. Now I am able to hear you.
Okay, why I'm calling this a public route table is we have added a route to the internet through internet gateway. Okay, so here we need to associate with the subnets to make those subnets public. Okay, so we have created a route table. We have added a route entry to the internet through internet gateway, so it become public route table. Now we need to attach this to any subnet to make those subnets as a public route, public subnets. Okay, go here, edit subnet association. Here you can see our subnets. Okay, let it load. It's loading. Okay, so yeah, those two subnets are, you can select any of one. So I'm making subnet 1 as a public subnet. Okay, select that subnet. If you select both will become public subnets. So I'm making only one subnet as a public subnet. I'm selecting it. Save. Yeah, Madhu, are you able to hear me? Madhu?
Now you're able to hear me. Some disturbance is coming up.
Okay, now?
Hello?
Yeah, now?
Now okay.
Okay, so you will close it within 5 minutes. That's why I'm
okay.
Now if you go to subnet association, we have associated our subnet here. We have added a route here. That's it. Okay, so if you go to our subnets, if you go to subnet 1, so if you go to 1 minute, if you go to our subnets, if you go to subnet 1, if you go to route table,
Okay.
we have associated with our public route table now. Here you can see internet
Okay.
gateway. So then you can recognize this subnet is a public subnet. With a
Yes.
so
Yes.
if it's internet gateway, it's a public subnet. If it's NAT gateway, it's a private subnet. So we have
Yeah.
made our subnet 1 as a public subnet now. Let's make our
Okay.
subnet 2 as a private subnet. So
Okay.
what you need to, for example, in some companies they will not even use NAT gateway. So if you leave like this, it will be a private subnet only. If you want a NAT gateway, you just go to NAT gateway. Okay.
Create on NAT gateway.
That NAT gateway should be created within a public subnet.
Okay.
So give ngw. You here there is an option to select the subnet. So we have a subnet 1 in our demo as a public subnet. Okay, select that subnet
Okay.
1. This is a public subnet. Here,
Okay.
if you have any elastic IP, you can attach it directly, or you can click on allocate elastic IP. So this NAT gateway will get a public IP automatically allotted from elastic IP.
Okay.
Okay. So
Okay.
you can add any tags here, create NAT gateway.
Okay.
This NAT gateway should be created in a public subnet. That's why I've created public subnet first.
Okay.
Okay. So our NAT gateway is ready. So now what you need to do, go to route table. You need to create a route table now. Create a route table.
Okay.
Make it as a demo private route. Okay, this is a private. Previously you created demo public route. This is a private route. You need to select that VPC. We are creating this in demo.
Okay.
Okay. If you want, you can add any tags or else leave it.
Okay.
Okay. Create.
Okay.
Our route table got created. If you go here, we have a demo private route here. Go select it. If you see route, by default there will be a local route. Okay. What you need to do, edit routes, add route to 000 to the internet. It should go through NAT gateway. Previously for public, we have selected internet gateway. Here NAT gateway. Save the route.
Okay.
Close it. And we need to associate it with the subnet to make the subnet private. Okay. Subnet association. Edit subnet association. Here we are making subnet 2 as a private subnet. So select it, save it. So now this route table got attached to our subnet 2. So if you go to our subnets, if you go to our subnet 2, if you go route table, here you can see NAT gateway, and it attached to a route table, a private route table. So this subnet is a private subnet now.
Yeah.
No, you got, like, if somebody came and asked you to make this subnet to a public subnet, then what you need to do? You just go.
We can
go to route table.
Okay.
Go here, private route table. Okay. Go to subnet association. So we have a subnet 2 here. Go to edit subnet association.
Okay.
Just okay. So sorry, not like this. You go to route table. So now I will come from the first. Okay. We have 2 subnets. We have 2 subnets, subnet 1 and 2. Now subnet 1 is a public subnet, subnet 2 is a private subnet. Somebody told us to make subnet 2 as a public subnet now from private subnet. What you need to do? Just go to route tables, go to public route table, subnet association, edit association. You select our subnet 2 also, save it. Okay. If you go to our subnets now, if you go to subnet 2 route table, you got IGW. It is attached to public. So now, previously it's a private subnet. It became public subnet now.
Okay.
So similarly, somebody asked us to change subnet 1 from public to private. What you need to do? Go to route table. Select the private route. Edit subnet association. Edit subnet association. Select our subnet 1, which is a public previously. Save it. Okay. If you go to our subnets, select subnet 1. If you go to route table, you see NAT gateway. So now our subnet 1 became private from public subnet.
Okay.
This is just switching. So that's what I and here you can see in our subnet there is 10 IPs, right? Remaining 10 IPs, but here you can see 11 because previously our subnet 1 was public subnet. We have created NAT gateway in the public subnet, so NAT took one IP
extra apart from those 5 IPs.
Yeah, it took one IP. So only 10 IPs are available here. So this is how you create VPC, how you create subnets. This is how you create route table. This is how you create internet gateway, NAT gateway, and how you can attach those NAT gateways or internet gateway in a route table and attach to a subnets, and how you make subnets private and public. Any doubts here?
No.
Okay. So for today, this is enough. We'll continue tomorrow. In tomorrow's session, I will do this one, peering connection. So by default, within a VPC, your servers can communicate with each other. There is no restrictions. Whereas if you want to communicate between the VPCs, you need to create VPC peering. That will do it tomorrow session.
And elastic IP also for 5-10 minutes.
Yes, we'll do it that also. Okay.
Keep the recordings in a different folder, Madhu. Don't forget.
I will keep like